Hello and welcome to the very first edition of City Insight. I'm Elliot Cohen with the City of West Palm Beach. We're going to have a jam-packed show for you this time. We're going to have three guests. We're going to hear from Kim Briesmeister with the Community Redevelopment Agency. She's going to talk about some changes that could be on the way for the Broadway corridor in the north end of the city. We're also going to hear from Jose Tagle. He is with the mayor's office. He's the main point person for all the neighborhood associations, all the people here in the city. We're going to talk to him about what he sees as the good and the bad as far as the positives with the neighborhoods, what he'd like to see happen differently, and things along those lines. But we are joined first by the mayor of West Palm Beach, sort of appropriate mayor that you're joining us for our first show here in City Insight.
Happy to be here.
Glad you're here. I wanted to start this first edition with sort of a general overview. For those people that are not that familiar with the city, a lot of people hear the term strong mayor form of government. West Palm is different than most other cities here in Palm Beach County. How so?
Well, about 20 years ago, the citizens of West Palm changed the city charter to move to a strong mayor form of government, which means that the mayor is an elected position in and of itself and is basically the CEO of the city. I was recently on a panel with the mayor of Boca Raton, and somebody asked her how are our jobs different, and she said, well, pointing to me, she has to go to work every day. So it's true. I'm here every day overseeing the operations of the city. The commission serves as the policy arm of the city, and much like a CEO and a board of directors, the commission votes on policy and general direction and sets the general direction of the city. I implement that. And so my job is really the operations of the city and making sure that things go smoothly, that we address the neighborhood issues, make sure we're in budget and spending money wisely.
So from a perspective of a boots on the ground resident, essentially you're the one who's keeping the trains on time. You're the one who's making sure the garbage is picked up, making sure the police are deployed, working with the police chief. Is that right?
Well, ultimately the buck stops here, but I have a great team of people that work every day to make sure that everything in the city runs smoothly. And you know, I certainly can't take credit for everything that occurs here, but
let's talk about the team a little bit. Since you've been mayor, a lot of new faces, a lot of new department heads. The head of the finance department, our new police chief, new head of developmental services, just to name a couple of them that sort of interact with the public. Walk me through your thinking. What kind of a new philosophy, what are you trying to get into the city with the new hires?
Well, when I first became mayor, my whole focus was to really improve customer service. You know, we are here to serve the citizens of West Palm Beach. The citizens employ us, they pay our salaries, we're here to work for them. So my whole direction was to find people who were positive, upbeat, and know how to work with the customers to make sure that we provide the best customer service we can. So that's the kind of people I've been able to surround myself with, people who really love their job and love being here, love working for the city, and know that their #1 job is to serve the people of West Palm Beach.
I know that one of the priorities when you came here was to cut down on the amount of time that it takes developers and business people to try to get permits and get things moving in the city. You've been fairly successful at that. Talk about the time frame that's been knocked down as far as if I want to build a building, how long did it used to take me and how long does it take me now?
Well, one of the first things we did was to consolidate construction services and planning department. They used to be separate. And they really needed to be able to work together because together they're what people see when they want to put an addition on their house or if they want to build a whole new housing project. So we did that first under the leadership of Doug Weiss, and now under the leadership of Rick Green, we call it developmental services. And as a result of the work that they've done, we've cut in half the time it takes to get a permit. And just anecdotally, we get so many positive responses from people out there who are trying to either develop a large project or put an addition onto their home. We've really streamlined the process. We want you to get your project permitted and out the door as quickly as possible, and they've really done a fine job. Now, you know, can we be better? We can always be better. And one of the things I say to the people I work with is that even on our best day we can be better, and I expect us to always be working to do a better job.
You mentioned a lot of the projects, the developmental services projects that come through the city. That's one aspect. Another aspect that you highlighted in your State of the City address was economic development and the importance of economic development. Tell me a little bit about why is that important? Why should the average person watching this show care that, number one, there's a new project going up in one part of the city, or why should they care that new businesses are coming in? What does that do for the city?
Well, it's critically important for a number of reasons. First of all, it brings jobs to our city, and unfortunately there's still a lot of people out there who don't have jobs or who only have part-time jobs and are really having trouble making ends meet. So when we have a great new project like the Villas in Antique Row, which is a townhouse project, they're going to employ construction workers, they're going to employ designers and decorators, they're going to employ all kinds of people who have had struggles getting jobs during this economic downturn. So first of all, it brings jobs. Secondly, it brings tax dollars to our city. During the economic downturn, before the economic downturn, we were getting about $80 million in property taxes we were collecting. We're now collecting about $50 million in property taxes. That just barely pays for our police department. So as we're looking to bring more businesses into our city, we're looking to bringing more tax dollars into our city so that, you know, we can get that additional police officer we need or additional code officer we need. So it directly affects our bottom line.
There was a point in time not too far back when there was some discussion about neighborhood resistance, that there are some people in the city that don't make that connection, that don't see a connection between development and helping them. What's your message to those residents that oppose a lot of these projects? Do you feel that there's something that they need to know?
Well, I think I totally respect what they have to say. You know, people love this city and they feel passionately about it, and I want that to stay. I want people to feel that they really belong here and that it's a great hometown. You know, I think that as we move forward with new projects, we have to make sure we communicate effectively with the people who are going to be affected. And I think we have to be respectful of some of the basic tenets that we as a city hold. We do not want to block our waterfront with skyscrapers. We want to be able to have access to our waterfront to see that, and that's something that's been a very strong belief of the people who live here, and we respect that. And we want the people in the neighborhoods to have a say in what goes into their neighborhoods. On the other hand, we want people to also understand that development is not bad. It adds to our city in lots of ways, and not the least of which is financially, and brings jobs. So it's a fine line, and we have to be respectful of the feelings of the people who live here, and really make sure that we bring them into the decision making.
Okay, all right, Mayor Moya, thank you very much. We ran out of time.
7 minutes already?
It goes very quickly, and I know that we had a whole list of other things we're going to
did.
talk about, but we've got a whole series of shows, so I have a feeling you'll be back.
Oh, thank you.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Coming up next, we're going to hear from Jose Tagle. He is the mayor's point person for the neighborhoods here in the city. He's going to tell us a little bit about that interaction when we come back right here on City Insight. No more waiting for the freshest produce, plants, baked goods, and flowers around. South Florida's biggest green market is now an annual event, brought to you by the city of West Palm Beach. Shop more than 90 vendors on the waterfront all year round at the annual West Palm Beach Green Market at its new time, 9 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon on Saturdays. Parking is free in the Banyan Parking Garage. Log on to WPB.org/greenmarket for details. That's WPB.org/greenmarket. Sponsored by the Palm Beach Post, Palm Beach Daily News, WIRK 103.1 FM, Sunny 107.9 FM, Power Chiropractic, Vital Health, and Coca-Cola.
I'm home, and I love it. I'm home, where I belong.
It's always nice to come home, but many Americans are at risk of foreclosure and losing their homes. Making home affordable from the U.S. government has already helped over 1 million struggling homeowners like these. The sooner you act, the better chance we can help you.
I'm home, where I belong.
Welcome back to City Insight. I'm Elliot Cohen. Joining me now is Jose Tagle. He is the city's point person when it comes to anything neighborhood related. He is at all the neighborhood meetings. He is the person that any neighborhood association president calls when they need anything from the city. So if you want to know anything about what's going on inside the neighborhoods, he is your man. Jose, thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you.
Let me talk to you about, let me start out by asking you about neighborhood involvement. There's a lot of discussion about what role residents should play, can play on a daily basis as far as maintaining their neighborhoods, crime watch, that kind of thing. You are on the front lines of all these neighborhoods. You hear all the concerns. What are some of the things that neighborhoods talk about, and what are some of the things they can do?
Well, one of the things that is prevalent in our meetings is the fact that our neighborhoods are concerned about crime, obviously. And one of the things that we have made sure is involvement of all the neighborhoods and the people in the neighborhoods. When we have a neighborhood that's involved, we have a safe neighborhood. Because if they see something, they'll say something. And that's one of the things that we're trying to make sure that we get out to the other neighborhoods and make sure that they cooperate with us. And it's a collaborative effort between the city and the neighborhoods.
Define for me a little bit, what does it mean to get involved? People are going to be watching this and going to say, all right, well, how can I get it? Does it mean I need to walk a beat in my neighborhood?
No, if they see something, you know, something unusual in their block or in, you know, when they go to the grocery stores or something, we have our 822 number that they can call and report something. And also, a lot of input also is given to the issues with code enforcement. For instance, if you know, abandoned property, somebody's ripping off a property for copper or whatever the issue may be, we can get to it right away.
Let me sort of put on my resident hat, take off my city hat. There are those that would say, you know what, it's not my job to do code enforcement. It's not my job to patrol my streets. That's why I pay my taxes. That's the city's responsibility. What's your thoughts on that response?
Well, unfortunately, because of budget cuts, you know, we have manpower. We have reduced our manpower. Slowly, we're getting back up to where we were before. And certainly, with the neighborhoods being involved, it helps us to target the areas that are needed as far as code enforcement is concerned. We can't have a code enforcement officer or a police officer 24/7 in a block. But
and that would be the case even if we had an unlimited budget?
Yes, that would be the case. But you know, with so many properties that are in foreclosure right now, we need the help. And that's how we are winning the battle, practically. And you know, with neighborhoods, some of the neighbors call in, and we can get the grass cut and so forth. That will also help their property values make not go down.
There are certain areas of the city I would say are more organized when it comes to neighborhood involvement than others. Is that right?
Yes. Usually, the north end of the city has a very strong neighborhood associations, and they also have the NCON, which is the North End Coalition of Neighborhoods, which they formed a coalition. The western communities are very organized, but then again, those are gated communities. And the south has a stronghold also of neighborhoods, but we need to get more involvement from the south end.
In what respect? In terms of?
There's certain pocket areas that have no representation, or it's a high rental area, so we need to get the owners and the neighbors involved in trying to get organized so that it can make a better quality of life.
You mentioned a couple of the issues that come up over and over again in some of these neighborhood meetings and the meetings that they have at the city. You mentioned the code enforcement, you mentioned the police patrols. Are those the two main issues that seem to crop up across the city from south to north? I mean, are there uniform concerns that you see?
Yes, I strongly believe those are the two main issues. Certainly, there are other issues which I think that we can tackle, but I think they're low at the low end. Certainly, we want to have more participation. People participate in our parks and rec departments, which we have an excellent program. And that's something that we need to get out there, the programs that our Parks and Recs have in their neighborhoods.
So to sort of sum it up, obviously someone's going to be watching this if they are a member of a resident of the city and they're not super engaged with their neighborhoods. The advantages of being engaged are what?
Well, one of the things is their quality of life will be better. Their property values will be maintained at a high level. And safety is foremost in keeping the neighborhoods safe in this matter.
And if anyone has any questions or anything that they want to report,
they can
what's
call
the number?
822-2222. And usually when they report something, it is taken care of within 48 hours. And if they want something, if they find that they're having problems trying to communicate with our hotline, they can always call me at 822-1412.
Okay. All right. Jose Tagle, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Coming up next in our last segment here on City Insight, Kim Briesmeister, the head of the CRA. There are some major changes that might be on the way for the Broadway corridor. She's going to go through exactly what those changes could be and why they're on their way. That's coming up next. Stay with us. Welcome back to this edition of City Insight. Our third and final guest for this edition is Kim Briesmeister. She is the Executive Director of the Community Redevelopment Agency here in the city of West Palm Beach. She is here to talk about an exciting new idea, new project that's getting underway. It is going to be the redevelopment of the Broadway corridor here in the city of West Palm Beach. Kim, thanks a lot for joining us. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Why don't we start with this? I know that you and some other individuals from the city took a trip within the last couple of weeks up to Tallahassee to talk about the Broadway corridor. Why don't we start there and explain why does Tallahassee have to be involved in the first place?
Okay, good place to start. Most folks that know Broadway know the Northwood Village area. And I think people can remember as early as even 5, 6, 7 years ago, Northwood Village was pretty blighted. There were a lot of vacancies, buildings were boarded up, there was crime activity in the area, and there were certain things that happened in Northwood Village that transformed it into the area it is today. I mean, now it's a fun, funky, cool, exciting, eclectic place to be. And if you go down Northwood Road and 24th and 25th, you can see an area that still has a ways to go, but that has made tremendous changes. Well, that's the same road as Broadway. And so one would ask, well, why did redevelopment happen there and nothing happened on Broadway? The trip to Tallahassee was important because the roadway itself, the Broadway corridor and the road itself, is really one of the big obstacles that's limiting redevelopment activity. So we went up, we met with the secretary. We wanted to talk to him about a vision and about the big picture approach that we wanted to take, but make sure he understood the redevelopment aspects of that roadway, not just the engineering aspect of moving cars from A to B.
You talked about the vision. What is the vision? What needs to change on that Broadway corridor in your opinion? What is the top priority right now?
Well, again, and think back to Northwood. We were able to identify what was the matter and the obstacles and address them. We were able to identify the opportunities and the things that we could build on. What the vision is, and this is key to redevelopment, governments in general don't do redevelopment. The private sector does. What government does is either move barriers out of the way or create an environment that private sector wants to come to. Our vision is really honing in on what's already there as an asset, which is the marine industry. You have Rybovich Marina. It's a tremendous, tremendous economic generator, but it's isolated. It's operating by itself. Our vision is really to take that economic engine of the marine industry and help it expand. Geographically, if you can picture where the Rybovich obviously is located on the water, and then there's a neighborhood in between Broadway corridor and that asset, is how to make that private sector activity go from Rybovich's location and start to expand onto the corridor. So it's a combination of attracting that industry to bring new businesses onto the corridor, and then addressing the obstacles that exist, both with traffic, congestion, lack of congestion actually, and the things that the businesses are going to need to be able to function and operate.
The CRA here in the city has an amazing track record. City Place, downtown area. One of the things that makes City Place work, one would say, is that it's a good mixture of not just streets, but streets and pedestrians. That it's an opportunity that when you walk through City Place, as a pedestrian, you're comfortable going from place to place. I've heard you say that that's one of the priorities for the Broadway corridor as well, to try to integrate pedestrian traffic as well.
Well, think about you know, the Broadway corridor today. There's a hierarchy of what is ruling that environment. Cars are ruling the environment, not people. So if you want to move a car very fast from A to B, or all the way from the Northwood Village area up to the Riviera Beach city line, the cars can go as fast as they can, unimpeded. There's really nothing in their way to slow them down. And so the hierarchy right now is cars first, businesses second, pedestrians and residents third. We have to turn that around. And that was largely the discussion with the Secretary, which is we can't have the cars being the dominating priority on this roadway. It has to change that the top priority is businesses. How people get to those businesses, how they see them and pull into the parking spaces to go into them, how they pedestrianize themselves from going from one business to another, how they get across the street. So if we turn that around and we start thinking in terms of the hierarchy of what's more important, businesses and then pedestrians become the first priority, cars become the third.
Are there those that would say that that's basically going to take away a main artery to get from the center of our city to the northern end of our city? I mean, is that a concern? Do you take that into consideration?
I'm sure people will ask, well, what happens if you either put on-street parking or you narrow lanes? You know, there's two terms that engineers like to use. One is road diet, which sometimes that just means what it sounds like. Something is getting smaller, so the way that the street functions has to get smaller. And then it may take, if traffic starts to move a little bit slower at a reasonable pace that's more comfortable for pedestrians, then you may take a little bit longer to get from point A to point B. But that's the trade-off for, again, letting pedestrians safely get from point A to point B. The traffic level right now is so low on that corridor, it doesn't even warrant having the 4 lanes. So I don't think there's going to be a situation, but that's why we'll do a pilot program where one day to the next there's this massive amount of congestion. That is just not, we believe, going to be the case.
You mentioned a pilot program. What are the next steps? I know that FDOT basically wants to get an idea from us here in the city. What is this going to look like? How are you going to do that?
Good point. We have to now visualize it for them. We'll go back out again with our hierarchy of needs, meaning businesses and pedestrians first. We will do some renderings and drawings and cross sections to show what we would like to see as far as lane widths, bike lanes, sidewalks, even landscaping elements can make a place feel more comfortable for a pedestrian. We will try to define that more specifically, both visually and in map form for FDOT. Sit down with their folks, talk to the community, get the residents and businesses involved, and try to find that right formula for a pilot project. It'll be from one section of Broadway to another. That hasn't been defined yet. And then we'll go out and try to create that temporary condition and test it for a while, see how it works, you know, for, again, all those involved.
There's one business up there, Palm Beach Yachts. It's almost on an island. It came to the Broadway corridor, but really nobody followed. Is the reason that nobody followed because this type of comprehensive approach hasn't been done yet? Do you think that these are the barriers that you talked about getting out of the way for private business? Yeah,
it's a combination of things. That's the one marine business that's up there. There's obviously a lot of businesses that are locating, but yes, we're having a hard time getting marine businesses interested in locating because they'll come to the marina, they'll look around, they'll say, sure, I want to be in proximity where you are, but then they'll drive over to the corridor and they'll look at the conditions. And again, it's that human reaction to how that corridor acts from either a car, pedestrian, or business standpoint that we're not able to attract them. The other thing is, it's a very narrow corridor. Those businesses are not very deep. And one option is not to take them deeper into the residential neighborhood. So if we're going to protect the fabric of the neighborhood and not compromise that, we have to get far better at creating a better way for businesses to function and operate there, both from parking, from people being able to get to those businesses, and again, from pedestrians being able to move between them.
Let's talk about the residents that sort of live behind the Broadway corridor. Obviously, there's a section of neighborhood that exists between Broadway and Rybovich, which is going to be caught right in the middle of what we're talking about. Will that change? Is the goal to change that neighborhood? What's going to be happening as far as traffic in between Rybovich and Broadway? What do you envision?
Well, normally what happens in redevelopment, when a commercial area starts to go up in economic components, then it usually has a very positive spin-off on the residential neighborhood. You know, think of some of the larger-than-life redevelopment examples like Atlantic Avenue and Del Rey. The real estate, the residential real estate directly north and south of that avenue have increased in value tenfold. We would envision that would happen because people, number one, are going to start to want to live there. Generally, you have a reduction in crime. It's a more safe environment, and between having it bookended between Rybovich and Broadway, I think presents a tremendous opportunity for people that are even thinking of opening businesses to maybe even look at that area to live in. How close can you be to not only where your business is, but to where the marina is, and then right in that neighborhood, there's a tremendous amount of opportunity for improvement.
Let's talk about timing. Timing between now and when you can get the pilot program up, the temporary measures in, and then let's assume that it moves ahead and we're able to permanently put in the landscaping and the pedestrian-friendly changes. You mentioned it's not a government-driven process. It's a private sector-driven process. In your experience, what is the timing? How long does it take the private sector to realize what's been done, to realize the obstacles have been moved out of the way, so that it actually sort of takes on that critical mass?
It depends. I mean, the short answer is we're going to move as quickly as we can to create that pictorial so that we can start to make real changes. And then have FDOT and everybody come to the table and buy into the pilot program. That might be as early as a couple weeks. We're going to start to try to frame that, and then maybe a couple months out we'll be able to make a decision, hopefully, on what our options are. How long it takes to put those elements in place, that very much depends on FDOT and what they allow us to do, and participation with businesses and even the residential areas. And then simultaneously, once that starts to get into place, we start going out and promoting and marketing and banging the drums to the private sector industry that this area is changing, and come look at what's happening, and then we open up our economic and redevelopment doors and start trying to attract the businesses. You may remember Northwood. Again, it doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. Here we are 7 years later, and it didn't feel like it took that long. But it does take time to start to change an area, and Broadway's a very long corridor. It is going to take time, but there's no reason why it can't be redeveloped.
Well, I think if anyone's going to be able to do it, it's going to be the CRA here. You guys have a great track record. Kim Briesmeister, thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate it. And thank you for joining us as well for this inaugural edition of City Insight. Join us right here on TV 18 for this show and many other shows. And if you want more information about the city of West Palm Beach, check out our website, WPB.org. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.